Hello everybody, in case this ends up being the first part of a video, welcome or welcome back. I'm Hazel and you join me at a very thankless task of trying to de-stone sloes. I went out for a walk this morning and found some sloes, and I thought there's nothing much more local and seasonal than picking it yourself in your local area. So I picked them, more or less an entire pot of them. Trying to just get that in the camera, there we go. And now I'm trying to get the stones out of them. So sloes are related to the plum family, and they have in them amygdalin, I think it is, which is cyanogenic. It will decompose into cyanide once it's in the body. What I could not find is how many of them you would have to eat to get a lethal dose of cyanide. And when I say I couldn't find, I mean reliable literature, not my aunt always ate raw sloes whole and she lived to be 95. It's not the sort of thing that you want to find out by experiment. So I am removing the stones. I was, like the classic method that you would use with a cherry or a plum, cutting it, slitting it, getting the stone out. It was taking ages and more of the juice was going over my hands than it was into any of the juice gathering equipment. So what I'm now doing is taking a small handful of sloes, manually pushing them through the sieve, which is hard initially, but once you've broken them the first time, it becomes okay. I'm not strong enough to actually damage the stone in any way, so me doing this is not releasing anything that's in there. I'm then going to take the stones out of there, put them aside. At the end of it, I'm then going to put what I don't push through the sieve into the mini chopper, put that back through the sieve, and by such means, I will try and get as much sloe juice as I can. I'm going to pause the video here and resume once I'm about to do the mini chopping. We're down to just the last batch of sloes now. It's taken me about 20 minutes. We've only got that many left. At some point I got rid of the scales. I would like to know how much juice I'm going to get, but I wasn't adding sufficient enough quantities to the scales to keep them active. So only making my life harder at the moment. Stones. None are going to end up into the chopper. My chopper I don't think is powerful enough to actually break up a stone. In fact, it even says if you are chopping things with stone fruits, you should take the stones out. So even the manufacturers don't think it's powerful enough to break up a stone. And I suspect the lethal dose of sloe stones is higher than 2 or 3. But, as we said, not something we want to find out. I'm going to give myself 2 chances to get as much juice out of the sloes as possible. And the original juicing, which has produced that much, not too much. But then I kind of want this over here. Whilst I was doing this without filming, I was away from where the camera is. Just having to reach around it a little bit. Then I can pulp everything that was inside the sloes that wasn't stone, and extract hopefully a little bit more juice from that. Just rinse off the sieve. I have tried a little bit of the sloe juice. It's extremely astringent. There are a lot of acids in this. Now, there are things you would do if you were going to be using the sloes in whole form. Traditionally, you wait for the first frost, because that then A, softens up the fruit, but also helps convert some of its insides into sugars, makes them a bit less tart. Or, more than Mulled, you can simulate that using the freezer. That's a good one. I'm just washing out the sieve because my other sieve. Hang on, is my other sieve dirty? My other sieve is dirty. That's why I'm not using that one. But I don't want, ideally, to get too much of solid sloe into my sloe juice. I've not decided yet what I'm going to be doing this, so I'm filming this about the same time I was making the pumpkin ice cream, because that's when I happened to find the sloes. And I might end up doing it then, but I may not. So, being part of a closely related to plums, it's thought sloes are actually the native precursor to plums. They have a plummy taste, very tart plummy taste, but a plummy taste, which I think could make them a really nice Christmas ice cream flavour. So this video may not come out anywhere near to pumpkin ice cream. I might freeze this juice and then use it in an ice cream further down the line. Should hopefully be enough. Yeah, that's worked quite well. Clean off the little spatula. And get all of this back into the sieve to push it through again to try and get a bit more sloe juice. So it took me ages. I've owned this thing for a while now. And I knew it said it had an easy drizzle for pouring in things like oil if you're making a mayonnaise. And I couldn't work out how it worked because I thought this bit was solid. It has a tiny hole in it. I only saw that a couple of days ago. Until then, I thought I had to somehow try and remove that and put a different attachment in. I was making it far more complicated than it needed to be. That's about as much as I'm going to get off the edge. Not much stuff on the blade, and then the pot. So I don't think I'm going to get that much juice out of these. I'll probably get enough for the one ice cream, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do my typical use some of it new and freeze some of it, unless I make very small batch ice creams. And as I think I said in the plain ice cream, oh, I can hear it dripping, that's good. As I said in the plain ice cream video, my machine works best on about 800 grams of mixture. So using my fruit recipe, which was in the pumpkin video, that means ideally to get 2 out of it, I'd need about 220 grams of juice. Maybe I'll get a different spoon because that one is got a little bit of the fruit on it. Start juicing these. Again, I'm going to come back closer to the end once I've got my juice out of the sloes as much as possible. I think I'm right at the end now. I'm really pushing this to the point my hands hurt. Basically just getting solid mush left over. A couple more passes will probably be about my limit from this. It's not been a wonderful year for sloes. You need a good March and April. I do need to get a good sloe crop. I think it was still fairly cold during those times. I seem to remember I still was putting my heating on sporadically in May and June this year. As we can, and I think that's my limit. Another spoon. Just this one. Now, if I'd been sensible, I would have done this into a jug because I want to put it into something to measure it. Sometimes I can't use a jug. Just would have been if I thought about this in advance. I'm going to do this off camera and over a plate because I can probably get it in a bit easier. Whilst retaining as much of my sloe juice as possible. But typically, just because of the size of my fridge, I don't store things in the fridge in this jug. It's about 100 millilitres. It's not going to be a big batch of sloe juice. But that's fine, it'll just have to go into a small ice cream. My cups with lids. Turn on the scales. Just in the ounces. This gives me basically 4 ounces. Oh no, closer to 5 once we scoop it all a little bit. So we're not quite there. I wouldn't have minded about 6 ounces. But we're not a million miles off. Really dredge it up from everywhere. Don't waste any of the precious sloe juice. More or less 5 ounces. So it'll be a small batch ice cream, but that's okay. As I say, not sure when I'm going to be using this. It may appear close to the pumpkin ice cream. It might be quite far off. But whenever I decide to use the sloe juice, we'll catch up and make that ice cream. I'm just recording this on my phone, so apologies for A, the quality, and B, the sound quality. I'm just going to get the sloe juice that I froze a few months ago. I'm trying to think when I did that. I was doing that at roughly the same time I was making the pumpkin ice cream, so it's nearly exactly 2 months ago. I'm just going to get that ready for mulling. I've bought a mulled wine spice mix, but I don't want to make 75 centilitres of mulled wine. I want to make about 1/5 of that of lightly spiced sloe juice. So let me just open that. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put the thing down now. Maybe I should have got the proper camera out. I thought this would just pull apart like a cracker, but it doesn't. Oh, I've made a mess of that. There we go, that's how it comes out. So I'm just going to divide that into roughly 1/5, put that into the bottom of the sieve, put the frozen sloe juice on top of that, and as it defrosts, the theory is it's going to drip through the sieve and take on a lightly spiced taste. Because I don't want it to be too strong, I still very much want the taste of the sloe to be coming through. And that's the theory, that's how it'll work. We'll see if that actually happens tomorrow. It weighs exactly 10 grams, so if I put 2 grams of that in and probably one of the little, I don't think I want the little cranberries in. I've got a berry taste going through, so let's take those out. Now it only weighs 9.7. I'm still going to probably put about 2 grams of this in. That is about 2 grams of the spice mixture. I'm just going to put the rest back in the packet. I won't spice wine because I don't drink, but I might spice like grape juice or something. And then this one here is my frozen sloe juice. I don't know how well it shows up, but yeah, it's slow, about 125 grams of it. And there it is. As it thaws, it will drip through the sieve and see if it spices itself. I can confirm that it is just as astringent as it was when I froze it. When you next see this, it will have fully defrosted and will be on the proper camera making the mulled sloe ice cream. As promised, we are back on the proper camera, and I must say, I'm just going to caught my plastic bowl there. There is my sloe juice. Can't quite get it in fully in front of the camera because of where the mixing bowl is. And I must say, I very rarely have any of my ideas on how to make my life easier work out like that. The vast majority of it just dripped through the sieve. I had to push a tiny amount through, but not much. So that was nice and straightforward. What you might be able to tell is I don't have an awful lot of it, and that's why this ice cream is a small batch of ice cream. Because remember, my fruit recipe, and this is a fruit recipe, is you weigh the fruit juice, and then you need the same amount of single cream and sugar, and double the amount of whipping cream. I'd be surprised if there's much more than 100 grams of fruit juice. I think when I froze it, I think it was about 120. I suspect some of it will have gone. I need to keep on knocking that bowl. Let's just pour it into the bowl. Scrape out as much as I can. Because when you've not got much of it, you really don't want to lose any of what you have got. And I expected to lose some of it in the process of the freezing. So what have I got? 105. I did say I didn't know how much. I didn't think there'd be that much more than 100. That's going to give me what? I do 5 times, if that's 20%, so that would be 550 grams mixture in total as my total amount. That's the whipping cream I picked up. I shouldn't have got this bowl out as early as I did, but if I didn't, I'd have had to have gone in the drawers, and I think it might be a Christmas miracle. I can't imagine what I'm going to need from the drawers. So I think this might be the first video where I don't need to access them. So let's put the same amount of single cream in. I went to pick up the cream today. I've got the cream for this, and I've got the cream for all of the chocolate ice creams. There's a lot of cream in my fridge right now. But that's me ready for cream until sort of the early part of the new year. So I was at 105, so I need 105 of the single cream. You might be able to hear my oven warming up in the background. You might not. I think my microphone is generally fairly good at tuning out background noise. I went out for Christmas lunch with my friends, but I feel like I need more. So I'm going to make myself a homemade bruschetta. 103, 104, a little tiny bit more, 105. There we go. And then you need double the amount in whipping cream. So I need 210 of whipping cream. And fruit recipes are so easy because all you do is mix them together, let them develop for a little bit, and then re-whisk and churn. So it should be, hopefully, a fairly short video today. I think the last ones have been getting progressively longer. There we go. Trying to make a mess of taking the lid off because this will do me for another ice cream a bit further down the line. So I can pour a little bit quicker because it's going to be the majority of this part. This pot's 250 millilitres. So 195, 200, a little bit more, 8, 9, 10. There we go. Do that up again. Move this bowl over to here. Then I can actually bring over the plastic bowl that's been causing all the noise. And we want the same amount of sugar as we have fruit juice. So I need another 105 of sugar. What I don't know is how much the sloe juice took on the spicing flavour. I have tried to taste it, but it's just so astringent. All it does is makes my mouth close down on itself. Right, it's not been a Christmas miracle. I do need to get the spoons. Or a spoon anyway. I now have more ice cream scoops than I have spoons. It'd be easy if I just move the... That's an ice cream spoon. I'm just going to move the tripod back a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I don't have any you just, yes I do, they're just behind. Okay. Bring the tripod back in. And all you do is slowly whisk whilst gradually add in the sugar. And what I'll try to do is, after I've added the sugar, I'll then see if I can taste it and work out whether the spicing did take. I'm not too heartbroken if it didn't. The taste I'm trying to emulate is spiced plum, but sloes have a nice flavour in and of themselves. I'm not too heartbroken if they've not taken on the spice. And not too much of it over there. Dark this time, right, let's just turn that up a little bit. The problem here is this is going to froth quite a lot because there's a lot of acid present. I'm almost wondering, is that kind of curdled? I've never had them curdled with lemons. No, I don't think it did. I think it's just because there's not an awful lot in there. The whisk is struggling to get to that. Right, just give that a little bit of a hand whisk. Yeah, still plenty liquid, that's not curdled. Bring that back. That's nice. I don't think it's taken on much of the spicing, but never mind. Right, do I want to hand whisk it now, or actually I might just let that settle? Because it needs to, no it does, because it's not really mixed in that well. Maybe I shouldn't have done that in the stand mixer with having not as much mixture as usual. Remember, I usually try and make about 800 grams. Just mix that in. I think that'll be fine. I think what I'll probably do tomorrow is hand whisk this to recombine it rather than put it through the stand mixer again. Just taste a little bit of that now. That, I think, is going to be a really nice ice cream. So I'll go and put that into the fridge. I kept a space specially for it. And then tomorrow we shall re-whisk and churn and get sloe ice cream. I'm filming this bit on Christmas Eve. And I'm hoping to try and get the video out actually later on Christmas Eve. So hopefully it won't be too long until you see the results of this. It's really early in the next morning for two reasons. One, I had breakfast plans. And two, I wanted to get this churned so that it's got some time to go in the freezer so that I can then actually test it out on Christmas Eve itself and have the video out this evening. What you can hear is I actually remember to turn on the ice cream machine. And I'm also just re-whisking it in the background. As I said yesterday, I didn't bother getting the balloon whisk out. I don't think there was enough mixture in the bowl really for it to get to it. My worry is that it had thickened and curdled. I think it just looks a bit thicker for some reason. There will be natural variations in cream. So I wonder if it's just something as simple as that. I'll just test a bit of it now. Okay. I am getting, I'm just going to put the bowl there. I am getting a bit of the spice. It's mostly the sloe plum flavour, but a little bit of that spice flavour was coming through. So I didn't waste my time doing that. Let's just pour this in here. Do you remember last time I used this, I said there was a burning smell? Absolutely nothing wrong with it this week. It often does that sort of crack as it's getting the mixture put into it, so I'm not worried by that. It's just where it's suddenly cold. And because this isn't the easiest thing to pour from, I actually brought over a spatula. You do want to try and add it all fairly quickly. So I might have to cross over the camera here, because this is not the easiest angle to be doing anything from. So much easier from a jug. And because there really isn't much of it in the first place, I do want to try and get as much of it into the machine as possible. So this should not take long to churn. I've made a complete mess of this. The swirling pool didn't even help. Get off the bowl. And off there. But this should not take all that long to churn. So I will keep a close eye on it and be back with you shortly with some mulled sloe ice cream. And it has just finished churning at only about 10 minutes. I didn't think this one would take very long at all. It's not great to not put an entire batch into the machine, but sometimes you have to work with what you have. And as I said, because it's only a small amount of it, it only gets one of my small pots, which is good because there is room for that in the freezer. And then Father Christmas is fixing all of my freezer problems. I did test a little bit of this when I was checking that it was done. It is delicious. I hope it's this nice once it's fully frozen. And I think it feels a little bit more unusual to have a fruit ice cream at Christmas rather than, say, a chocolate. Although, of course, we do have the chocolate extravaganza coming up. Oh, pot out there. That down. I think I just knocked the camera there. Apologies for the wobble. Keep that away because I don't. I mean, I can wipe the side of a pot. It's not a big problem. That's probably enough good ice cream we're getting out. Just flatten that all down. And the fact that that has basically filled this pot. I did wonder if I might have to do a bit of parchment paper over it. But that has basically filled this pot, so that shouldn't be a problem. If you end up with the ice cream in a container that it's not filling, put a little bit of parchment paper over it to try and limit ice crystal formation on the surface. Making ice cream is all about basically trying to limit ice crystals. We want some, but not too many. So I'll get the edges of that a little white. This is what I don't like about this pot, so it's much easier to freeze them together. Because they have a very different type of lid. So that will go in the freezer. Is that not the right lid? It is the right lid. I tested it. There we are. I wasn't pushing it hard enough. That will go in the freezer. And what time is it? That reduces it. Put my watch on. Whatever time it is, I'll probably give that 4 or 5 hours. And then I will be back later tasting it. And then that should be my festive video out for you all in time for Christmas. Not that you then have time to go and find some sloes and make it. But, you know, maybe one day more people will watch this and next year it will be useful. See you soon. And so the sloe ice cream's been in the freezer for about, when did it go in? About 10. It's been in there for about 7 hours. It's not as long as I like it to be, but it'll be fine. You have to see why. Oh, I thought you were going to see why I hate these pots. Because often they get very, very frozen together. It was not bad at all. And there is slow, mildly mulled sloe ice cream, which is very soft. It might have been a bit harder if it had been in for longer. But actually, fruit ice creams often are about this texture, so maybe this is as hard as it was going to get. That is a really nice ice cream. It feels a bit... I know spiced plum is a traditional Christmas flavour. It does feel a little bit weird to have a fruit ice cream at Christmas. And that does taste really nice. It did take on a bit of the spice. I wasn't entirely sure it had when I just tasted the mixture. But then again, when I just tasted the mixture, I wasn't entirely sure it had taken on any flavour whatsoever. So it's nice to actually taste it. And when I had the churned but not frozen ice cream, I thought it had taken on a bit of the spice. It's nice to prove it in the final ice cream. This is nicely done just in time for Christmas tomorrow. I love Christmas. From now on, so it's about 5:30. I literally just checked my watch. It's about 5:30. My camembert's baking away in the oven. From now on, Christmas is just non-stop eating, which is just what I like about Christmas. And this will complement quite nicely the dessert for tomorrow. And this is also the end of the weekly themes. So everything you see from this moment on is my own stupid idea. We've obviously got the chocolate extravaganza to come. As of when I'm recording this, nobody has voted in the polls, just because nobody watches these videos. But if you happen to be watching these videos, please do vote in the poll. Otherwise, I'll decide for myself what we're doing about all the chocolate ice creams, and you might not like what I decide. And then when it comes to New Year, I've got a few ideas, but I'm going to see how Christmas plays out first, because some of the ideas depend on certain things happening over Christmas that may or may not end up happening. So I will see you somewhere between Christmas and New Year's Day for the chocolate extravaganza, and then we'll carry on from there. Merry Christmas, everybody.